Welcome to another edition of All Octaves with me, Val Kleinhans, chatting a lot of new metal in this episode, and I'm super stoked for it. Mike Evans is here to chat about Profiler and their new debut album, A Digital Nowhere, coming very soon. Mike, very happy to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were always interested in music and sort of started your musical journey somewhat solo at first, and then you sort of added on band members while you were at university. Tell me about that moment that you knew the current lineup was definitely going to work.
Well, we had a member change recently, about 6 months ago. So we had my bass player who's still in the band and our original drummer Oscar,
Mhm.
which I was sure at the time was going to be the right lineup, but the drummer lineup has changed because Oscar wasn't totally into doing it as a full-time career.
Mm.
So we had a member change, yeah, about 6 months ago with Brad, who was our new drummer. So that's now the lineup. And yeah, shouldn't change because he's a phenomenal drummer and he's into doing what we want to do. So now I know who's the band members basically.
Oh, got it. Okay. Well, you're interested in music. Where did that begin?
Just from a young age, listening to what my siblings were playing. Like I grew up on kind of Linkin Park and Deftones, Incubus, System of a Down and stuff when I was quite young. So I was always into that. And then started learning acoustic guitar when I was about 14, 15. And then just got into heavier styles of playing and then basically just self-taught from there. And yeah, just kind of had a knack for writing riffs and creating music and just, yeah, fell in love with it basically.
Okay, so just curious to put this in perspective. Are you getting into this like in the early 2000s as new metal was kind of breaking globally, or did that come a little bit later for you?
Yeah, it came a bit later. I was into that essence of music, obviously from a really young age. But like starting a band, I mean, we've been a band for about 5 years, and that's really the first band I've ever been in. So it's quite late to start everything. But yeah, I think everything just happened naturally at the right time.
Good. And Profiler proudly wears the new metal label. So why new metal? Why does Profiler want to like further that subgenre?
Um, well, I wouldn't just put us definitely just into new metal, but like it is probably what people would box us in, which I get. But yeah, just the kind of how big it was as a genre. It seems to get a lot of hate, but I think bands like Linkin Park and Limp Bizkit and Incubus are still stand up today in terms of their production quality and how simple and raw and authentic their music is. And obviously having turntables in underneath metal is just amazing. Having that hip hop vibe, I think it has such a wide reach. It's such an interesting genre. So yeah, we just kind of wanted to recreate that because no one was really doing it. We thought there's a bit of a gap in the market. And as we've been doing it, it seems like there's a bit of a resurgence as well. People are
Yeah.
still sticking to it. So yeah, it's good timing.
Do you ever feel like you were maybe a little bit ahead of the resurgence and you're like, this is great timing?
Kind of, well, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had a lot of delays from like COVID and everything, but like the idea of it, like, yeah, was formed before it kind of started to come back, and it just happens to be like as we're releasing, it kind of seems to be making a resurgence. So I do believe we were ahead of the curve, but it looks to people like, I mean, I guess we're like catching on to the wave, but like we've been doing the preparation for this for like 5 years. So yeah, we've been into it for a while.
What was the moment like where you decided, okay, I really want to take music and Profiler seriously? Do you remember how you were feeling, what you were thinking at that time?
Yeah, well, kind of from day one, really. Like when I was recording riffs to try and find people in a band, like I knew I wanted to do it. I didn't necessarily know how difficult and how long things can take. But I mean, I still have that fire for doing it because we love playing live, we like making music. So if you can make any sort of career out of it, then it's a dream come true. But that stays consistent. I mean, we're not going to stop until we're at the success level we want to be at, basically.
Yeah, let's talk about those live moments too, because you have a big European tour on the way with Vended and the Gloom in the Corner. Have you had a chance to meet any of your future tour mates? Because this is huge. This is exciting.
It's really exciting. No, we've never met Vended or Gloom in the Corner, and we massively appreciate them taking us out because we haven't toured that much as a band, so we might be slightly a bit of a risk for people. But I think having the debut under our belt gives us kind of more clout and yeah, currency to kind of be out and playing with. But yeah, we're super stoked to be on that tour and meet those guys. We've heard lovely things, and I'm sure we'll make good mates. hopefully do more shows with them down the line.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. And that particular one is Europe, UK, a lot of that
Yeah.
going on. Hopefully the States sometime soon.
Yeah, hope
Hopefully,
so.
cross my
Yeah.
fingers for you.
Yeah, that's what we want. Yeah, we want to get to the States and Australia and all over the world basically if we can. So yeah, we'll start with Europe and then I'm sure things will progress from there.
Cool. And I love that your section, what I was just reading up, a little bit. I love that your section of the Sharp Tone Records website says this band is inspired by those who have incited change in genres, arts, and theories. So it made me want to ask, like, who is on that list? Who are some of those people that you see as change makers that you look up to in that regard?
Well, I guess it's like in terms of is this in terms of bands or like
Yeah, it
general
could be, however, yeah, bands or just in general. Because
Yeah,
that sentence said general. I mean, that was my interpretation.
yeah, sure. Well, I haven't heard that before, but it's kind of like definitely some like philosophy inspired people like Terence McKenna, Alan Watts, people from the sort of 60s onwards that were sort of chatting about philosophical ideas about where our species is heading, and I always find that really interesting. Film culture like The Matrix has inspired this album and the ideas behind it with simulation theory or just the kind of societal constructs that we're in, which are kind of Matrix themed. So I've delved into that in the album. And then bands like Silverchair, Incubus, bands that are like really raw and authentic, good songwriters that we want to kind of aspire to be as like as we can. Not to like take anything from them, but to be that kind of level of band is like what we're aiming for. But it's kind of different market, different kind of music industry and scene. It's very
Mhm.
competitive. But yeah, we want to just strive for as much success from that inspiration as possible.
Yeah, talk to me about some of the philosophy and themes in Profiler's music for anybody that doesn't really know about the content and the lyrics itself.
For sure. So a lot of it's like there's spirituality based elements in there to do with kind of surrendering your control of what you think you're doing with your life and like where it's going and just kind of enjoying the process and the flow of it all without trying to kind of force or manipulate situations to how you want to be. I think we're kind of just on a ride. I don't think that we don't have any free will. I think there is free will, but there's kind of like you are doing what you're doing. So to kind of accept that with present moment attention and
Mm,
happiness. And when things go wrong, not freaking out, just kind of let life take you on these kind of different currents that it takes you down. So that spiritual element, philosophy from Terence McKenna to do with his concept around a technological singularity, which is where human beings are creating technology at such a rapid rate, and it's going to keep increasing. And his idea of philosophy behind it was it's going to reach a point of no return.
mm.
So a point of maybe AI or some sort of digital collapse, which is where a digital nowhere, the idea the behind the album name comes from. Um, what else was I going to say? And then yeah, like some kind of pop culture stuff to reference of films from the era of the 90s to the 2000s, like Donnie Darko, and The Matrix, and just kind of culturally Fight Club as well, culturally influential films that kind of help people navigate their life circumstance. That sort of stuff, if that makes sense.
I love that because that's the general theme in pretty much all those films that you just listed. Everybody has a choice, and
Yeah,
it's what you do with that choice that is really what dictates what happens next. It's
yeah,
not always these, because I'm the kind of person where sometimes I can get down by external things happening,
yeah.
and it's hard for me to see my way through that. I think a lot of us go through that. Um, when you have tough moments, how do you guys navigate it?
Um, Well, I mean, if it's like a learning curve. I think when you get older, you get a bit like more grounded and you can take on challenges a bit more. I think when you're younger, it kind of things going wrong can seem like the end of the world. But I guess for me personally, from a spiritual point of like, it's not to sound like doom or gloom, but it's like you are gonna die, like for sure. And you don't know when that's gonna be. So whatever is happening, challenging or not, like it's gonna pass. Like there's gonna be good moments and there's gonna be bad moments.
Mhm.
Uh, so it's just kind of how you react to things in a kind of as peaceful and accepting way as possible because it's going to end and you can kind of make a choice about like, oh, I'm going to make this a disaster or I'm kind of going to enjoy these challenges and work my way through it. Same with like failure. like if something doesn't work out for you. I think just like, yeah, just appreciating just being alive because it's so unbelievably ridiculous that we're even here. Um, so just try to enjoy the craziness of it all. But it can be very difficult. I'm not trying to make light of people's hard circumstances. And like we're very privileged like to live in the UK and be able to even like do a band. But yeah, just kind of surrendering to what's happening and just learning from it. I don't think there's any script for how to figure it out. It's up to the individuals to try and figure out how they navigate challenges of
Yeah.
life.
It's acceptance, and it's celebrating the good moments too, which you've certainly had some lately. The newest single, Operator, 90,000 views on YouTube, I think in like a week, I read somewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
What
it's
do you
crazy.
I know. So what do you think was the secret to the success in that? Why that video?
I don't know. It might be the song. I think maybe the sort of marketing campaign behind the album. I mean, they could have sort of like yeah, putting money into promotion behind it through Instagram in terms of ads and things like that. So I'm not really sure really. It seems to happen like that with some of our videos. Some get less, some get more. But yeah, this one's by far the most views we've had on any video, so it's super encouraging. And yeah, it's like onwards and upwards for us. Like I mean, we wanna aim for as many views and yeah, external output as possible.
Got it. My thought on that was just watching it, I was like, this is new. This is like a new metal aesthetic, sort of, or it
Right.
kind of gives that sort of vibe that I would have been watching this in the early 2000s, and I was like, oh my god, I'm magically transported back, and that was so refreshing because I just enjoy it. I enjoy
Yeah.
what that brings back and the nostalgia behind it. What's the story? Getting to the content, the story behind Operator specifically. Tell me about that song.
Yeah, that song's like a kind of bit of a continuation from one of our other singles called Glitch Theory. But it's a conceptual song about I didn't want to talk about like the Matrix and like the system. I kind of wanted to talk about like the love between like Neo and Trinity in the Matrix
Mm,
franchise. Because I just kind of found that like a nice element to those films. I probably wasn't like thinking too much about it when I was writing it. But just kind of wanted those ideas of the Matrix and their love affair to be the conceptual idea of the song rather than like talking about an ex-girlfriend or like a topical issue. I just kind of wanted to have a bit of fun with it. And make the lyrics kind of sound cool. So yeah, I think it's come across cool.
I think so too. What are some of the other highlights that we can get from A Digital Nowhere? What should we be looking for? What are some of your favorite things about it?
I think just like the continuity, like the flow of the album from start to finish, the variation of tracks, like every song's different. I think every song's uh flows really well. No song sounds the same, but it's just got like a nice vibe to it, like To Utopia and The Living Receiver. I think are two of my favorite tracks on there. They just got a really cool kind of vibe to it. And yeah, I just think it's like an exciting listen. So I'm really stoked for people to hear it.
Yeah, I'm kind of stoked for the thoughts on just the technology that we're living through today, how we're
Hmm.
handling, how we're navigating it as a society. I don't know. AI kind of does freak me out a little bit. Like sometimes it's helpful, but I think we have to use discretion. Like
Yeah, yeah,
with
definitely.
everything.
Well, I think we've been sort of programmed into thinking like it's going to be really bad through like yeah, through films like Terminator and The Matrix and everything like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it just depends what happens next, really. I don't know enough about it. I mean, I listen to people in podcasts that are into robotics and AI, and they're like, we've got nothing to worry about. Because I think it's all right. I think it's an incredibly useful tool, but it's getting like weird, and it's just like what happens the next 10 years because we do develop faster and faster. Like each year we get better and
Yes.
better at it. So yeah, that's kind of what's included in this album is like what is going to happen? Like what happens when it gets to that point? Like are we fucked? Is it going to help us out a lot? Like we don't really know. Um, Probably like a natural evolution of the human species for it to transcend into some sort of AI, but I don't know. I'm regurgitating information from people who are much smarter than I am. I just have uh, a slight unease about what's going to happen the next 20 years, but we'll see. It is what it is.
Cautiously, yeah, cautiously optimistic is kind of how I
Yeah,
how I
same.
feel about it. I'm like, I'll try it, but I'm not totally sure. It's just
Yeah,
helpful with writing certain things, but in other aspects, medical field, I don't know. I'm kind of a little bit skeptical with that sort
yeah.
of thing.
It's weird. I'm not using it in any way. I just think it's a step too far.
Yeah.
It's like it takes away from what people can do, and it's like
Hmm.
when are we? where do we draw the line? Because they're gonna just like make robots from like iRobot probably soon, and then they're gonna start killing us or something, and we'll be like they told us in the films, man, like we shouldn't do this.
No, I know. Will Smith is one man. We cannot put all this
Right.
on one guy
Yeah,
to
we
save
could
us.
maybe he could slap them all away. I don't know. We'll see.
I love it. So much good happening in 2024 for you, obviously. In general, what are you more excited for? Because there's a huge tour, and then we've got the album. Is one more exciting than the other, or is it just chaos
They're
for both?
both, I would say, equally exciting. Like we've never done a proper tour, so we are super excited about that. And yeah, I think there's a cathartic, emotional relief behind releasing the album because it's been a super long process. And yeah, it kind of feels like we've got more eyes on us now for this album, and it like we're really proud of it. We think it's a really good record and display of what we can do. So I'm equally as excited about both, but there's probably a more of a sense of relief around the album because we've had to be so patient. It's been like a 2 year process. So
Oh, okay, 2 years. So it all kind of, sort of started this in the middle of the pandemic. It
yeah, well, I was writing in the pandemic, yeah, in my flat, writing the album. And it's gone through all the different processes and change and trial and error to get it to the studio and then mixing and mastering. And it's been a lot of like hurdles to get over, but like now it's actually coming out. It's like yeah, I don't know if it'll feel like anything until it actually happens. But it's so excited. And we've got like the physical record as well. So it is like such an achievement for all of us. We're super excited.
I miss physical like CDs
Yeah.
or vinyls, or I'm like, ah, my God, I wish we could bring more and more of that back. But I'm not opposed to streaming either. I mean, we stream everything nowadays. Was it How was the decision process? How did that come to be when you were deciding if you want to put out a physical copy, a hard copy, or I mean, the streaming just kind of goes without saying anymore. But
Yeah.
was there an importance on I want a physical hard copy version? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the streaming thing will happen anyway, but it's we're completely in debt basically to Sharptone. I mean, we wouldn't have had the money to do it ourselves, so they're our team and they've supported us to be able to do it. So it was a no-brainer to do the record. And that's the kind of deal agreement we're on. Like that's what they want us to do and what we want to do is make physical records and sell them. And run it as a business and do as well as we can. But yeah, the physical element is important. I mean, we had just had streaming through our EP, and I think there's something tangible about a physical record for fans, for vinyl collectors, and for the band itself. So yeah, that's hopefully what we're going to continue to do.
Yeah. For you as a fan, what's your preference?
Yeah, I like physical because I know it helps the band and the labels out. I think streaming is great, but I also think it's completely I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but like mess over
Yes.
uh the artist. I mean, even successful artists, you don't make anything off streaming. So I have a love-hate for a relationship with it. I'm grateful it's a service and people can listen to music, but as far as the artist goes, it's extremely difficult and the label as well. I mean, you're making a very small percentage on your streams, whereas Spotify is making billions. So I
Yeah.
mean, personally, I don't think it's great. I think it should be. I mean, back in the day, an okay band could do a physical record and make a pretty decent amount of money, like a year's salary. And a lot of bands they can't do it full time. They've got to do another job. And that might sound kind of like complainy, but I mean, if you look at any other industry, like they're allowed to do their work and get paid for it. Like, why shouldn't musicians?
Well, it's the truth. And I don't know why. Maybe it's this perception that, art is just isn't as important, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But I've heard that from some clowns out there too. Like they just
Mm.
they don't view it the same way. They don't value it the same way for
Yeah,
a
but
reason. And it doesn't make sense to me.
no, well, I think art is like what brings color into culture and into people's lives and live music and recorded music, makes the world a better place. So I think it should be one of the highest paid things, to be honest. I think it's bullshit.
Absolutely. I mean, it is, well, or at the very least, like pay for what went into it. There's
Yeah,
effort, there's effort and time that goes into it, like every other job.
yeah,
So that's worth something to
yeah,
me.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, first, like our labels supported us, so it's nothing to do with like our label. It's kind of to do with how streaming services don't
Industry.
yeah, the industry. It's not fair to the artist at all.
Yeah.
But
No, I totally understand.
I hope that changes. I think it's possible that it is because I mean it would just make the economy better for everyone as well. Like if musicians were making money, then like there's a lot of musicians out there. If people were getting paid 1p per stream, then people would be doing all right. And that's not much to ask for, like a penny or a dollar or a cent even.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the world we live in. It's
It
crazy.
is. It's bonkers. Like nobody's paid what they're worth anymore. It just seems nobody. And I mean, I've heard horror stories of other bands and artists just getting stuck on tour because they can't even afford gas to the next
Right.
stop. Like it's
Yeah.
just that is crazy to me. I'm like,
It's insane. Yeah.
so I mean, with some of that comes with being a musician, I mean, the celebratory moments have to be what get you through. Would you
Yeah.
think so?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not an easy career. I think, but it's just it's a difficult one because I don't know what I'd be doing outside of life if I wasn't doing this. Like it does give
Mm,
my life a certain amount of meaning, and yeah, I don't know if I'd be satisfied in a higher paid corporate job. Probably be miserable. So I kind
yeah,
of accept the situation for what it is with the eagerness to understand that like you can actually do a band full time. And obviously people are like, oh, you know, it doesn't happen to me, too many people. But I mean, clearly, like I think Metallica are all right. Bring Me the Horizon are probably, you know, paying their bills okay.
yeah.
So I think you gotta be the best that you can, and then you can start making a living out of it. So I'm just going on that. I'm like, I can't let this fail. I gotta do it because I gotta be able to survive and I want to do what I love. So yeah, just keep going.
Fair enough. I'm totally with you on that. In general, I mean, we know the new album's coming out, we know tours on the way, but in general, what might the future hold for Profiler? What do you hope this develops into?
I hope it develops into more work opportunities, not just for the band, but for doing things like session work or getting involved in publishing or music related jobs.
Mm,
You know, stuff that we can coincide with the band's work life way. Because I mean, Joe's works in Specsavers. I work in a coffee shop. Um, and maybe if we can include something musical through showing that we've got something to offer, and then just continue to aspire to write the best music we can. That we want to get better and better, so it doesn't get ignored, and then become a big, successful, global, awesome band. I guess.
I'm here for all of it. I cannot wait for the new album. The tour, I'm sure, is going to be very exciting. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, Mike.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Good to talk to you.